questions. Questions orales. L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. There's been tragic data today, Mr. Speaker. 25% of Quebecers are living below the poverty line, that is, below a good average life. And this is a direct result of the centralizing, bureaucratic, unnecessary spending of this Prime Minister. And his spending is 100% supported by the Bloc Québécois. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister and the Bloc Québécois stop impoverishing Quebecers? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, we unveiled our budget. Our budget seeks to ensure fairness for all generations and for all Quebecers. Currently, a carpenter and a nurse pay taxes at a marginal tax rate that is higher than that paid by big business. That's not fair. Yet the Conservative leader opposes our plan for fairness. The only thing these Conservatives want is austerity. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. After 9 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the cost. He's not worth the cost for Quebecers. Quebecers are paying double for rent, for housing, and to service the national debt. This Prime Minister is a big spender. He is spending $54.1 billion on debt services charges instead of on health. What's worse, the Bloc Québécois voted in favor of this Prime Minister's spending. They support $500 billion in spending. Once again, when will this Prime Minister stop making Quebecers poorer? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, here's the reality. What we just heard is untrue. Here's the truth. Canada has a AAA credit rating. Canada has the lowest debt and the lowest deficit of all G7 countries. The Conservatives are against our plan because the only thing they're in favor of is austerity, and they also support their very wealthy friends.
Leader of the Opposition.
After 9 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the drugs, disorder, death, and destruction. In May of 2022, he granted the BC NDP government's request for a criminal code exemption to allow crack, meth, heroin, and fentanyl use in parks, coffee shops, hospitals, beaches. Overdose deaths since exploded to a record-smashing 2,500 lost lives. The BC NDP government has reversed course and asked the federal government to recriminalize some hard drugs. Why won't this Prime Minister recriminalize these deaths?
The Honourable Minister for Mental Health and Addictions.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we answered the call of the BC government when they requested the exemption on decriminalization of personal possession of certain illicit drugs. Mr. Speaker, what is driving this overdose crisis is the illegal drug supply. Every life lost is a tragedy. I met with Minister Whiteside this past Friday. We are reviewing their exemption request. Mr. Speaker, we have a clear lens on public health and public safety because we have a plan. They do not.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
She's wasting time while people are dying. In the year after this radical Prime Minister granted the decriminalization of crack, heroin, and other hard drugs in parks and hospitals, 2,500 people died. The overdose death in the 9 years of this Prime Minister have tripled to the fastest rising of the 11 countries studied by the Commonwealth Fund. Nurses are afraid to go to work because they have to put up with addicts using meth, crack, and weapons in their hospital room. Even nurses are having to give up on breastfeeding because they're worried their kids will be contaminated with the drugs they breathed in. What the hell are they thinking over there?
The Honourable Member as a longtime member of this House, I'll just ask him to withdraw the offensive word, because it is not parliamentary.
I withdraw because they're not thinking over there.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the Leader of the Opposition once again encourage supporters of white supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny. This has been a regular occurrence. He draws the admiration of people who dismiss the slaughter of children in our schools. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you from Hamas.
I'm going to invite the Government House Leader to start from the top and to choose his words very carefully so that they do not cause disorder in the House.
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the Leader of the Opposition once again visit with supporters of white supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny. This has been a regular occurrence. He draws the admiration of people who dismiss the slaughter of children in schools. The Leader of the Opposition now has 30 seconds to speak to this House and to Canadians once I sit down. I ask him to clearly disavow the views of these dangerous people. Will he do that?
That is an
Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I unequivocally disavow the guy who spent the first half of his adult life as a practicing racist, dressing up in blackface, and who since accepted the support of Hamas, and now he's brought on the extremist and radical position of allowing legal drug use in playgrounds, in hospitals, in coffee shops that has led to the mass death of our people. Will he not refuse the demand of Toronto to replicate the decriminalization nightmare in BC?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to say the Leader of the Conservatives, the Opposition, has shown us his true colors.
He has.
He speaks without conviction and clarity on a question that should be very, very, very simple for him to address. His silence speaks volumes. This is not leadership, Mr. Speaker. This is political cowardice.
Yep.